Hello, welcome to ITEXPS YouTube video series. Today we are going to talk about cloud security. Cloud deployment models. The cloud deployment model identifies the specific type of cloud environment based on ownership, scale, and access, as well as the cloud's nature and purpose. The location of the servers you are utilizing and who controls them are defined by a cloud deployment model. It specifies how your cloud infrastructure will look, what you can change, and whether you will be given services or will have to create everything yourself. Different types of cloud computing deployment models are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, community cloud, multi-cloud. 1. Public cloud. The public cloud makes it possible for anybody to access systems and services. The public cloud may be less secure as it is open for everyone. The public cloud is one in which cloud infrastructure services are provided over the internet to the general people or major industry groups. The infrastructure in this cloud model is owned by the entity that delivers the cloud services, not by the consumer. It is a type of cloud hosting that allows customers and users to easily access systems and services. This form of cloud computing is an excellent example of cloud hosting, in which service providers supply services to a variety of customers. In this arrangement, storage backup and retrieval services are given for free, as a subscription, or on a per-use basis. Example: Google App Engine, etc. 2. Private cloud. The private cloud deployment model is the exact opposite of the public cloud deployment model. It is a one-on-one environment for a single user customer. There is no need to share your hardware with anyone else. The distinction between private and public cloud is in how you handle all of the hardware. It is also called the internal cloud. It refers to the ability to access systems and services within a given border or organization. The cloud platform is implemented in a cloud-based secure environment that is protected by powerful firewalls and under the supervision of an organization's IT department. The private cloud gives the greater flexibility of control over cloud resources. 3. Hybrid cloud. By bridging the public and private worlds with a layer of proprietary software, hybrid cloud computing gives the best of both worlds. With a hybrid solution, you may host the app in a safe environment while taking advantage of the public cloud's cost savings. Organizations can move data and applications between different clouds using a combination of 2 or more cloud deployment methods, depending on their needs. 4. Community cloud. It allows systems and services to be accessible by a group of organizations. It is a distributed system that is created by integrating the services of different clouds to address the specific needs of a community, industry, or business. The infrastructure of the community could be shared between the organization, which has shared concerns or tasks. It is generally managed by a third party or by the combination of one or more organizations in the community. 5. Multi-cloud. We are talking about employing multiple cloud providers at the same time under this paradigm, as the name implies. It is similar to the hybrid cloud deployment approach, which combines public and private cloud resources. Instead of merging private and public clouds, multi-cloud uses many public clouds. Although public cloud providers provide numerous tools to improve the reliability of their services, mishaps still occur. It is quite rare that 2 distinct clouds would have an incident at the same moment. As a result, multi-cloud deployment improves the high availability of your services even more. Types of cloud computing. Most cloud computing services fall into 5 broad categories. Software as a service SaaS. Platform as a service PaaS. Infrastructure as a service IaaS. These are sometimes called the cloud computing stack, because they are built on top of one another. Knowing what they are and how they are different makes it easier to accomplish your goals. These abstraction layers can also be viewed as a layered architecture, where services of a higher layer can be composed of services of the underlying layer. SaaS can provide infrastructure. Software as a service SaaS. Software as a service SaaS is a way of delivering services and applications over the internet. Instead of installing and maintaining software, we simply access it via the internet, freeing ourselves from the complex software and hardware management. It removes the need to install and run applications on our own computers in the data centers, eliminating the expenses of hardware as well as software maintenance. SaaS provides a complete software solution that you purchase on a pay-as-you-go basis from a cloud service provider. Most SaaS applications can be run directly from a web browser without any downloads or installations required. The SaaS applications are sometimes called web-based software, on-demand software, or hosted software. Accessibility. We can access app data from anywhere. Automatic updates rather than purchasing new software. Customers rely on a SaaS provider to automatically perform the updates. Scalability. It allows the users to access the services and features on demand. The various companies providing software as a service are Cloud9 Analytics, Salesforce.com, CloudSwitch, Microsoft Office 365, BigCommerce, Eloqua, Dropbox, and CloudTran. Platform as a service. This is a category of cloud computing that provides a platform and environment to allow developers to build applications and services over the internet. The services are hosted in the cloud and accessed by users simply via their web browser. A PaaS provider hosts the hardware and software on its own infrastructure. As a result, PaaS frees users from having to install in-house hardware and software to develop or run a new application. Thus, the development and deployment of the application take place independent of the hardware. The consumer does not manage or control the underlying cloud infrastructure including network, servers, operating systems, or storage, but has control over the deployed applications and possibly configuration settings for the application hosting environment. To make it simple, take the example of an annual day function. You will have two options, either to create a venue or to rent a venue, but the function is the same. Cost effective. It charges for the services provided on a per-use basis, thus eliminating the expenses one may have for on-premises hardware and software. Efficiently managing the lifecycle. It is designed to support the complete web application lifecycle, building, testing, deploying, managing, and updating. Efficiency. It allows for higher-level programming with reduced complexity, thus the overall development of the application can be more effective. The various companies providing platform as a service are Amazon Web Services, Elastic Beanstalk, Salesforce, Windows Azure, Google App Engine, CloudBES, and IBM Smart Cloud. Infrastructure as a service. IaaS is a service model that delivers computer infrastructure on an outsourced basis to support various operations. Typically, IaaS is a service where infrastructure is provided as outsourcing to enterprises, such as networking equipment, devices, database, and web servers. It is also known as hardware as a service (HaaS). IaaS customers pay on a per-user basis, typically by the hour, week, or month. Some providers also charge customers based on the amount of virtual machine space they use. It simply provides the underlying operating systems, security, networking, and servers for developing such applications and services, and deploying development tools, databases, etc. Security. The IaaS cloud provider may provide better security than your existing software. Maintenance. There is no need to manage the underlying data center or the introduction of new releases of the development or underlying software. This is all handled by the IaaS cloud provider. The various companies providing infrastructure as a service are Amazon Web Services, BlueStack, IBM, OpenStack, Rackspace, and VMware. What are some cloud security challenges? Lack of visibility. It's easy to lose track of how your data is being accessed and by whom, since many cloud services are accessed outside of corporate networks and through third parties. Multi-tenancy. Public cloud environments house multiple client infrastructures under the same umbrella, so it is possible your hosted services can get compromised by malicious attackers as collateral damage when targeting other businesses. Compliance. Regulatory compliance management is oftentimes a source of confusion for enterprises using public or hybrid cloud deployments. Overall accountability for data privacy and security still rests with the enterprise, and heavy reliance on third-party solutions to manage this component can lead to costly compliance issues. Misconfigurations. Misconfigured assets accounted for 86% of breached records in 2019, making the inadvertent insider a key issue for cloud computing environments. Misconfigurations can include leaving default administrative passwords in place or not creating appropriate privacy settings. Cloud security concerns with technology. IoT or mobile devices. Keep device up to date with software updates. Apply patches. Do not store username and password. Avoid downloading unknown software. Secure devices. Big data requires high distributed systems to collect and process data. It creates high security challenges. 3 volt stands to volume, velocity and variety. Example Hadoop and Spark. Serverless is more secure because it avoids the direct surface area. What types of cloud security solutions are available? Identity and Access Management (IAM). Identity and Access Management (IAM) tools and services allow enterprises to deploy policy-driven enforcement protocols for all users attempting to access both on-premises and cloud-based services. The core functionality of IAM is to create digital identities for all users so they can be actively monitored and restricted when necessary during all data interactions. Data Loss Prevention (DLP). Data Loss Prevention (DLP) services offer a set of tools and services designed to ensure the security of regulated cloud data. DLP solutions use a combination of remediation alerts, data encryption, and other preventative measures to protect all stored data, whether at rest or in motion. Security Information and Event Management SIEM. Security Information and Event Management SIEM provides a comprehensive security orchestration solution that automates threat monitoring, detection, and response in cloud-based environments. Using artificial intelligence AI-driven technologies to correlate log data across multiple platforms and digital assets. SIEM technology gives IT teams the ability to successfully apply their network security protocols, while being able to quickly react to any potential threats. Business continuity and disaster recovery. Regardless of the preventative measures organizations have in place for their on-premise and cloud-based infrastructures, data breaches and disruptive outages can still occur. Enterprises must be able to quickly react to newly discovered vulnerabilities or significant system outages as soon as possible. Disaster recovery solutions are a staple in cloud security and provide organizations with the tools, services, and protocols necessary to expedite the recovery of lost data and resume normal business operations. Azure versus AWS security services and terms. Identity and Access Management (IAM). Azure Service Azure Active Directory allows users to securely control access to services and resources while offering data security and protection. Create and manage users and groups, and use permissions to allow and deny access to resources. Azure Service Azure Role-Based Access Control. Azure Role-Based Access Control Azure RBAC helps you manage who has access to Azure resources, what they can do with those resources, and what areas they have access to organizations. Azure Service Subscription Management plus Azure RBAC. Security policy and role management for working with multiple accounts. Azure Service Policy. Azure Policy is a service in Azure that you use to create, assign, and manage policies. These policies enforce different rules and effects over your resources, so those resources stay compliant with your corporate standards and service level agreements. Azure Service Management Groups. Azure Management Groups provide a level of scope above subscriptions. You organize subscriptions into containers called management groups and apply your governance conditions to the management groups. All subscriptions within a management group automatically inherit the conditions applied to the management group. Management groups give you enterprise-grade management at a large scale, no matter what type of subscriptions you have. Multi-factor authentication. Azure Service Azure Active Directory. Safeguard access to data and applications, while meeting user demand for a simple sign-in process. Directory Service. Azure Service Azure Active Directory Domain Services provides managed domain services, such as domain join, group policy, LDAP, and Kerberos NTLM authentication, which are fully compatible with Windows Server Active Directory. Cognito. Azure Service Azure Active Directory B2C. A highly available, global, identity management service for consumer-facing applications that scales to hundreds of millions of identities. Azure versus AWS security services and terms. Services networking. Azure Virtual Network. AWS Virtual Private Cloud. Services dedicated private network connection. Azure Express Route. AWS Direct Connection. Services Firewall. Azure Application Gateway. AWS Web Application Firewall. Services Identity Management. Azure AD. AWS IAM Services Cloud Service with Protection. Azure DDoS. AWS Shield. Services Data Encryption. Azure Storage Service Encryption. AWS Key Management Service. Services Cloud Management and Monitoring. Azure Advisors. AWS Trusted Advisors. Services Automatic Protection and Disaster Recovery. Azure Site Recovery. AWS Backup or Restore. Strategic Security. AWS is designed to help you build secure, high-performing, resilient, and efficient infrastructure for your applications. World-class security experts who monitor our infrastructure also build and maintain our broad selection of innovative security services, which can help you simplify meeting your own security and regulatory requirements. Our security services and solutions are focused on delivering the following key strategic benefits, critical to helping you implement your organization's optimal security posture. Prevent. Define user permissions and identities. Infrastructure protection and data protection measures for a smooth and planned AWS adoption strategy. Detect. Gain visibility into your organization's security posture with logging and monitoring services. Ingest this information into a scalable platform for event management, testing, and auditing. Respond. Automated incident response and recovery to help shift the primary focus of security teams from response to analyzing root cause. Remediate. Leverage event-driven automation to quickly remediate and secure your AWS environment in near real time. Azure Active Directory Azure AD. Cloud-based Identity and Access Management Service. Acts as identity provider. Manages access to resources in Azure Cloud as well as applications like Microsoft Office 365, Skype authentication. Authorization. Manage users and groups. Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault is a cloud service for securely storing and accessing secrets. It provides tightly controlled access to API keys, passwords and other custom secret certificates, encryption keys for encryption at rest. To do any operations with Key Vault, it needs to authenticate it. What are the 5 types of cybersecurity? Application security. This type of cybersecurity technology involves countermeasures to protect software, hardware, and data at the application level. This means that these barriers are coded into the application at the time of creation, such as data encryption. The benefit of this data security technology is that it prevents people from tampering with and modifying software. Additional application security measures, such as rigorous testing and real-time logging, are important to ensure cloud, web and mobile-based applications are protected against the latest vulnerabilities. Cloud security. A form of cybersecurity for businesses that eliminates physical data retention. This is a leading topic among security industry trends. Cloud computing is great for storing large amounts of data, which takes the burden off organizations to manage and maintain local servers, because the cloud is accessed and often managed remotely. The future of security technology involves finding innovative ways to limit access and utilizing multiple cybersecurity systems together. In this regard, new cloud security trends include syncing identity providers in the cloud, better access management through the principle of least privilege, and centralizing logging and monitoring for a more complete understanding of traffic across your networks. Endpoint security. As IoT-connected devices become more prevalent, information technology security at the device level will continue to be an important cybersecurity strategy. Endpoint protection examines files as they enter the network, such as when a user logs in on their smartphone or laptop, or when a file is sent to a printer. Active endpoint monitoring technology can help organizations spot vulnerabilities by detecting and alerting to unauthorized logins, phishing attempts, viruses, and malware. Internet security. With so many devices connecting to the internet in the workplace, cybersecurity is more important than ever. This type of data security technology limits who can access certain websites and monitors the information sent and received through browsers, alerting to any potential unauthorized use. Most browsers have built internet security measures designed to protect everyday users. Many organizations also implement additional internet security measures, with firewalls and multi-factor authentication (MFA) being the top cybersecurity trends in this space. Network security. The function of network security is to prevent access and use of information data through the local network connections. This type of cybersecurity technology helps protect the organization's IT infrastructure by ensuring logins, passwords, and access to the local internet connection remains secure. Antivirus software, data encryption, and intrusion detection systems are all common methods of network security. Common cybersecurity threats. Malware. Malware is software that has been created to intentionally cause damage. Commonly known as a virus among other things, malware can cause harm simply by opening the wrong attachment or clicking on the wrong link. Ransomware. Ransomware is actually a type of malware. The difference here is that ransomware infects a network or steals confidential data, and then demands a ransom, typically currency of some sort, in exchange for access to your systems. Phishing attacks. Phishing is just like it sounds. Hackers throw a line out there hoping that you will bite. And when you do, they steal sensitive information like passwords, credit card numbers, and more. Phishing attacks usually come in the form of emails that look legitimate and encourage you to reply. Social engineering. Social engineering involves malicious human interaction. This is a case of people outright lying and manipulating others to divulge personal information. Often, these people obtain information from social media profiles and posts. Security identity and compliance solution. AWS Identity Services. AWS gives you the freedom to choose where to manage the identities and credentials of your employees, and the fine-grained permissions to grant the right access to the right people at the right time. With AWS, you have flexible administration capabilities and easy-to-use controls over multi-account environments. AWS helps you implement and enforce the principle of least privilege access with analytic tools that help identify unused permissions across all AWS accounts, so that you can remove unnecessary access quickly and confidently. Detection. Detection consists of two parts: detection of unexpected or unwanted configuration changes, and the detection of unexpected behavior. The first can take place at multiple places in an application delivery lifecycle, using infrastructure as code, for example, a cloud formation template. You can check for unwanted configuration before a workload is deployed by implementing checks in the CI/CD pipelines or source control. Then, as you deploy a workload into non-production and production environments, you can check configuration using native AWS, open source, or AWS partner tools. These checks can be for configuration that does not meet security principles or best practices, or for changes that were made between a tested and deployed configuration. For a running application, you can check whether the configuration has been changed in an unexpected fashion, including outside of a known deployment or automated scaling event. For the second part of detection, unexpected behavior, you can use tools or by alerting on an increase in a particular type of API call. Using Amazon Guard Duty, you can be alerted when unexpected and potentially unauthorized or malicious activity occurs within your AWS accounts. You should also explicitly monitor for mutating API calls that you would not expect to be used in your workload, and API calls that change the security posture. Detection enables you to identify a potential security misconfiguration, threat, or unexpected behavior. It is an essential part of the security lifecycle and can be used to support a quality process, a legal or compliance obligation, and for threat identification and response efforts. There are different types of detection mechanisms. For example, logs from your workload can be analyzed for exploits that are being used. You should regularly review the detection mechanisms related to your workload to ensure that you are meeting internal and external policies and requirements. Automated alerting and notifications should be based on defined conditions to enable your teams or tools to investigate. These mechanisms are important reactive factors that can help your organization identify and understand the scope of anomalous activity. Infrastructure protection. Network and application protection services on AWS enable you to enforce fine-grained security policy at every network control point across your organization. As you build your network using networking services on AWS, you have flexible options for where and how you build your network architecture. From defining private subnets to public, internet-facing networks, AWS Network and Application Protection Services then provide equally flexible solutions that inspect and filter traffic to prevent unauthorized resource access. For example, for your web applications, you can easily set up always-on detection and automatic inline threat mitigations. to maximize availability and application responsiveness. Data protection. Earning customer trust is the foundation of our business at AWS. We know you trust us to protect your most critical and sensitive assets, your data. We earn this trust by working closely with you to understand your data protection needs. And by offering the most comprehensive set of services, tooling, and expertise to help you protect your data. To do this, we provide technical, operational, and contractual measures needed to protect your data. With AWS, you manage the privacy controls of your data, control how your data is used, who has access to it, and how it is encrypted. We underpin these capabilities with the most flexible and secure cloud computing environment available today. Incident response. With AWS, you can be confident in your cloud compliance. Our comprehensive compliance solutions give you peace of mind that your data and workloads are protected. No matter your size or industry, you can trust AWS to help you with your compliance and risk management needs. Just as thousands of customers have done before you. AWS services record 500 billion auditing API events every day and 2 billion resource configuration checks each month. We have simplified and automated compliance and auditing processes to save you time and effort. Comprehensive security for hybrid environments. Identity and access management. Azure Active Directory. Multi-factor authentication. Role-based access control. Azure Active Directory. App and data protection. Encryption disk storage SQL. Azure Key Vault. Confidential computing. Network security. VNet VPN NSG. Application gateway, Azure Firewall. DDoS protection standard. Express route. Threat protection. Azure Security Center. Azure Sentinel. Microsoft Anti-Malware for Azure. Security management. Azure Security Center. Azure Log Analytics. AWS versus Azure Security Services. Key difference between Azure and AWS. Both Azure and AWS support hybrid cloud, whereas Azure supports hybrid cloud better. Azure offers express routes, while AWS offers direct connections. Azure provides security by offering permissions on the whole account, whereas AWS security is provided using defined roles with permission control features. Azure machines are grouped into cloud services and respond to the same domain name with various ports, whereas the AWS machine can be accessed separately. Azure has a virtual network cloud, whereas AWS has virtual private cloud. Azure has 140 availability zone, whereas AWS has 61 availability zone. What is Azure Role-Based Access Control? Azure RBAC. Role-based access control provides fine-grained access to resources in Azure. Access management for cloud resources is a critical function for any organization that is using the cloud. Azure Role-Based Access Control. Azure RBAC helps you manage who has access to Azure resources, what they can do with those resources, and what areas they have access to. Azure RBAC is an authorization system built on Azure Resource Manager that provides fine-grained access management to Azure resources. Infrastructure security. Data center infrastructure. Physical security. Compliance. Managed hardware. Operating system images. Hardware inventory. Well-defined users and roles. Strict access policies enforcements. Monitoring, logging, and reporting. Customer data protection. Platform integrity and security. Microsoft verifies that the host is in a secure and trustworthy state, enabling partners to perform continuous assessment and improvement of their product's security posture. Cloud hardware suppliers and vendors for Azure are also required to adhere to supply chain security processes and requirements developed by Microsoft. Azure Firewall. Azure Firewall is a managed, cloud-based network security service that protects your Azure virtual network resources. It's a fully stateful firewall as a service with built-in high availability and unrestricted cloud scalability. With Azure Firewall, you can configure application rules that define fully qualified domain names, FQDNs that can be accessed from a subnet, network rules that define source address, protocol, destination port, and destination address. Microsoft Azure Security Center. Administrators access the Azure Security Center through the Azure Management Portal. Within the Security Center, they can find a number of security tools intended to prevent, detect and respond to potential security threats to their Azure deployment. Organizations must have an Azure subscription to access the Security Center. The main features of Azure Security Center include: policy configuration allows admins to establish a set of security-related controls for a specific Azure subscription or resource group. An Azure resource group refers to the collection of Azure resources, such as a VM, storage, database or virtual network, required to run an application. Data collection gathers data about Azure resources to ensure policies are enforced. Key service also enables daily scanning of VMs for potential security threats. Admins can choose the Azure storage account in which collected VM data is stored. Recommendations provides a list of suggestions for creating Azure security policies based on the security needs of your specific Azure resources. Potential recommendations include deploying a missing system update, provisioning anti-malware and using network security groups to control VM traffic. Alerts issues an alert when potential security threats, such as compromised VMs or malware, are detected. Azure Security Center automatically collects and integrates log data about Azure resources to produce alerts. Before selecting CSP Cloud Service Provider, ask the following questions. What role does our company play in the protection of our data, if any, and what is your company role in protecting our data and mitigating security incidents? Which specific data transmissions do you encrypt? Where do our servers physically reside? Are there any legal ramifications regarding our data privacy we should know about for having our data stored in that location? Who has access to our data in the cloud? What is your company policy for ensuring only authorized employees can access our data? What uptime guarantees do you make in your standard service level agreement (SLA)? What are your procedures for suspected security violations? Do you perform penetration tests on your systems? If so, when was the last test, and what were the results? How do you protect access to GUI and API? What are your terms when it comes to ownership of data? How about any metadata we generate while using your service platform application? What are your security measures for protecting your data centers and other facilities? What level of technical support is included in your standard SLA? Do you have a disaster recovery plan? How often do you test it? In the case of a data center disaster, where do you back up our data? Any question? Any comment? Thank you for watching this video. We provide hands-on training with labs, homework, group projects. Prepare you for the certification. Provide real projects. Internship opportunities. Support you and resume LinkedIn. Staffing support. Provide tech references. In-person online class. Class retake options and more. Call us at 847-350-9034 for your free career consultation meeting. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for the latest videos.